So Lantana is either going to be the worst thing in our national history with politics, or it's going to be the greatest uniting factor within our entire communities and draw all of our politics together when it stops being a dirty little secret under the carpet pushed to the side and we deal with it as a nation. This is a capital works program. The government has caused millions of hectares of this material to grow and infest everybody else. We are never going to deal with it while we continue to pretend that the government can keep sweeping it under the carpet. The government will turn 180 degrees on this subject, regardless of me, regardless of anything else, because this material is coming out of those areas so fast and so hard that eventually it's not going to be something they can hide from, which is what's happening with Google Earth. There is nowhere for them to pretend this doesn't exist. Their backsides are grass and we are the lawnmower. You want this to change over to happy times? Then put the bloody money on the table and let's get out in those fields and let's teach all Australians how deadly and how bad this material is and how to get rid of it. And once we have that community pride going and those jobs are being made and put into local communities, everything will change. This garbage of government's telling you there's no money, it's too expensive. They don't pay for this crap. Get serious about this. They actually pay for the setup costs of this to start going, and then they're picking up taxes off people working. They're picking up fuel being used. They're picking up machinery being bought. They're picking up people going out there and making a difference, and land's becoming economical. When we look at how much land has been lost to this material in production, just the reinvigoration of that land to be productive again would pay for these costs. Our nation would be growing so much more food, so much better environments, stronger, healthier. Lantana does not do well in that. When the vigor of the rest of the environment is growing so strong and so well, Lantana doesn't get the leg in that it gets. Lantana's greatest claim to fame is where it can get into lands where they're not used. All of these parklands, all of these waterways where people are being excluded from, all of these national parks where they're being excluded from, Lantana thrives there. By the time it's pouring out of those places, as it is today, that's the greatest catastrophe in Australian history. And our government is doing that to us. We shouldn't feel sorry for them. They're only putting money on a table for immediate job creation and an immediate national capital works program, which means the problems get addressed. If we keep playing around with this at a local level where we say, oh, no, it's too big, then it will never be addressed. Okay, this is why it's always a capital works, national capital works program. It's an Australian problem. For God's sake, government, wake up to yourself. Stop putting it under the carpet because it's the people's problem. We need to be told about it. We need to have the education and the money there and go educate people, and then we'll smash this stuff into smithereens. It will have nowhere to hide because people with so much pride in our country will be after this place. There's nowhere for these materials to hide. But it was not okay for you to turn around and rob them of that decision to fight, for them to go out there and take this stuff down. If they were told how bad this was, these materials would have never got to 14 million hectares, 20 million hectares next year, $120-odd billion problem. It's not low risk. Okay, let's not persecute you by the low risk tag. Let's not play any more games on that. Put the bloody money on the table, pull the pin on us and let us loose on this material. Today, tomorrow, let's go. Because your volunteer program is going to reap you nothing but sadness and tragedy. It is going to cause you so much grief the same way that this risk assessment weeds-based program is the worst thing you could ever come up with from your end of it. It's the best thing you could have done for me. Because the public has 100% in front of them, $120 billion by year's end, and 20 million hectares and growing at the rate of Tasmania. We're going to have a bigger state soon. I'm going to have to look at the map and work out which is bigger than Tasmania, because that's what we need next year. It might be New South Wales. It might be the size of New South Wales is the area covered in that one weed. We've got 32 of them, and they're doing equally as good a job on every single one of those weeds. Now, until we put the public into the picture and we release them on these materials, we are never seriously going to do the damage we need to do. But just because you can't imagine a program so well run, so well organised, and with so much knowledge of the materials, doesn't mean it can't exist. But we got to get the money on the table and get after this stuff and stop playing games with sideline little tiny things. Volunteer organisations, single people doing work on the ground by hand is just an absolute disaster. The resources that it ties up in trying to keep those things going is just absolutely nonsensical. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's a huge, it's a huge drain on our resources. We need mechanical applications in there on a large scale with the knowledge I have in developing better mechanisms. Okay, we will hybridise equipment to even higher production rates than currently I'm capable of, because of my knowledge to be able to design better tools to go onto that machinery. Better machinery in the field in all different applications to cause less disturbance, less damage. This is where councils and governments have not a clue. We need to be doing less damage while we're doing this. That's where they've always been wrong. Anyway, look, thank you for taking the time to watch all this stuff. I hope you really enjoy the videos. I know some of them are intense, but this subject is so bad, and the changes that they're making with this volunteer rubbish, and you bring your own clothes, you bring your own things, shows you, it's proof positive of exactly how little these people know about the enemy. How deadly the things are that are inside of these materials. The exact reason why these materials should never have been allowed to get to this stage. And now at least they're saying, well, yeah, Gary was right, so now we're suddenly making all these little programs on the side because he was right. The levels of these infestations have to end now. We have to be going after this material with an absolute vengeance. It's not going to be easy to hit 4 million hectares, I can tell you now. People in the farming know what it would take to scale up to do 4 million hectares. 6 million hectares in open country, open terrain. That's a specialist. That's not people from council, I can tell you now. They couldn't tie their own shoes. They're not the people that you put in this battle. They can go along and mop up after us and replant after us. That's the job that the council can do. That's something they could handle. But the costs are high, but, you know, at least it keeps them out of the main battlefront. But until they actually fund this, put money into it, support us, sitting down, talking to us, so how do we go about this? We know they're not serious about any real changes. We know that because they're not talking. We know the government's not talking. We know they haven't changed their ecological policies until they sit down, until they're ringing us up and saying, listen, how about we sit down and have a meeting here? Send us an email, talk to us. Get onto our Facebook, join our Facebook. Anyway, I'm Gary, Lantana Removal Queensland. Join our group, Lantana Removal Queensland. Our motorcycle groups that are joining us, thank you to everyone who's coming on board. Thank you to the four-wheel drive clubs that have been posting and sending us information about the amazing work that they've done on Fraser Island. Let's all go after this material in a serious way and make 2019 the year that we changed our history in our nation. I'll catch you on the next video, guys. Thank you for popping in. Bye-bye.